Good evening. Today we will go over a roadmap to ethical decision making presented by HBS Professor Constance Bagley. Firstly, we will go over 4 questions you may ask when evaluating a proposed course of action. And these questions are, number 1, is the proposed course of action legal? Number 2, is the proposed course of action able to maximize shareholder value? Number 3, is the proposed course of action ethical? And lastly, is it ethical not to act upon that proposed course of action? So now we will look at the decision tree. Basically, the decision tree consists of a node and then 2 bifurcating leaves, or basically a root with the 2 bifurcating leaves leading to nodes, 2 different nodes, 2 different courses of action. It is a graph of decisions and their possible consequences. It is used to create a plan to reach a goal. Decision trees are used to aid in making decisions, especially when there's uncertainty. Suppose the course of action you're going to take is illegal, right? Because your root question is the proposed course of action legal? Suppose you're following this path, which is the course of action is illegal. What do you do then? Well, it ought to be obvious what you ought to be doing if an action is illegal. You obviously should not do it because it is illegal. That should be obvious. Now, suppose that the proposed course of action is actually legal. If it is legal, then you move on to the next question, which is, does the proposed course of action maximize shareholder value, right? So now you have 2 more roads for a fork in the road, 2 more roads. One says, yes, it does maximize value. Another says, no, it does not maximize value, right? Suppose in your reasoning and your research, you find that the proposed course of action does, in fact, yes, it does, in fact, add value to shareholders. What do you do next? Or what do you ask next? The next question to ask is the proposed course of action ethical, right? At this point, you may want to ask, does this act positively impact other stakeholders? Does it affect the customers, employees, the community, the environment, and suppliers against the benefit to the shareholders? Now that you are at this particular node and you're asking, is it ethical? You're faced with 2 more decisions, 2 more roads that you may take, one of them. And one course of action is that one course says that yes, the proposed course of action is ethical, and another says no, it is not ethical. Suppose that you find that yes, indeed it is ethical. Well, obviously, at this point, you go ahead and do the or execute the particular act, right? The particular proposed action, right? But suppose you find that the proposed course of action is not ethical, right? If you find that it's not ethical, then you obviously, at this point, or maybe it's not so obvious, you do not execute the action. Now, if it is legal and if it has shareholder value and it is ethical, then yes, we do it, right? Otherwise, we do not do it, right? Now, let's notice that we did not go down this particular path earlier, which says the shareholder value is not maximized, right? Let us follow the path down that particular course. What if a course of action is not valuable to the shareholder? What if it's not valuable? Should we just not do something because it is not valuable to the shareholders? No, there is one more question we may want to ask. We need to ask, is it ethical to be inactive? Right? Would it be ethical not to take any action, right? Would it harm or cost our stakeholders in any way? If something is not valuable to a shareholder, is it ethical for us to not do anything, to not act? For example, suppose you find that your company has spilled pollutants into a river. Is it legal to clean up? Yes, it is legal to clean up. Does it help with shareholder value? Not really, not directly, right? Does it mean you should stop following that course of action? Or does it mean that you should stop following through on that cleanup activity? The answer should obviously be no, right? Because you want to ask yourself, if I do not clean up the pollutants, will it be ethical? The answer is obviously you should do the cleanup because the ethical course of action is to do the cleanup and not to be inactive or indifferent, right? You clean up, but you also inform the shareholders about the effects of the action, right? So if an act is legal and it adds value to shareholders, and it is unethical to be passive, then you execute the act, right? And you inform the shareholders about it, right? Now, all that remains is the last part of the question, which is what if something is legal and it does not maximize shareholder value and it is ethical not to take action, right? In this case, you don't do that particular act. The conclusion is follow this tree by HBS Professor Bagley to have a roadmap to your ethical decision making. Thank you.